Right, so in today's video I'm going to be doing a little bit of work on this lawn, and I'm going to be addressing some of the mistakes I've made when it actually came to renovating this lawn a couple of months ago. Now, on the whole, the lawn doesn't look too bad. The weed grasses are gone, and that was the big sort of issue we had with this lawn before the complete renovation where we started it from scratch. But we do have some different issues now in this lawn, and one of them you can probably see straight away is the weed problem. So there are quite a few weeds knocking about in the lawn, which I'm going to be pulling out by hand today. So that is a bit of an issue. Now, anyone who did watch the renovation that I did on this lawn a couple of months back will know that I killed this lawn off using weed killer, so it was back to just complete soil, and we actually seeded it again from scratch. Now, some of you might think the reason why we've got weeds in this lawn is because the weed killer wasn't effective or that it wasn't applied properly, but that isn't the case at all. But the reason we do have the weeds in this lawn is because I didn't actually put enough seed down. You can actually see from above here there are quite a few gaps in the grass, and even in this patch here, the grass that's there is really healthy looking, but you can see all of these spaces that were never filled. When you do put seed down on a brand new lawn to begin with, not every seed's going to take. Sometimes the birds will take some of the seed as well, and that's why I end up with some gaps in the lawn. And good practice is, after you have seeded the lawn from scratch, is actually getting on about a month or two later and overseeding some of those patches. Now, I did anticipate myself cutting this grass more than I actually have, and I thought then by cutting it more often, the grass would thicken up, and then those gaps would sort of fill naturally over time. Whereas what has happened over the past few months is we've had a ton of rain, much more than I anticipated, which meant then I got on and cut the grass less, and then that's resulted in there being some more of these gaps, and the grass just hasn't thickened as much as I was hoping it would. So the first port of call then is going to be to give this grass a cut, just bring the level down ever so slightly. Then we're going to get these weeds out before we get on and overseed. So what I'm doing is I'm just using a regular kitchen fork. I'm just finding the base of each of the weed plants, jabbing the fork in, just prising the soil slightly and ripping out the entire weed, root and all. And it's rained loads over the past few days, so this soil's really soft. You probably have seen before when I was actually mowing the lawn that the actual mower itself, the rear roller, was sort of churning up a little bit of the soil, which was a bit of a nightmare. However, it is making removing these weeds quite an easy job. But what isn't easy is the fact that there are loads of them. Now, if you've got a massive space that you're working with, you might be working with about 100 square meters plus, then doing this by hand is going to take a long time. You can get on with a weed killer. I'm doing that on the bottom tier lawn later today, even though we are sort of middle of October at the moment, and at time of recording this is the weekend where it has been absolutely freezing, so you'll probably know what I'm on about. Time of posting this video, this will be last weekend, so even though it's freezing now, we are going to have more favourable conditions over the next couple of weeks. That's what gives it to be on the forecast anyway, so getting on with some liquid weed killer is fine. And the bottom lawn I'm going to do that with, because I'm not going to be doing any overseeding, but because I am overseeding this lawn today, I don't want to risk actually damaging any of that seed or preventing it from coming through. I don't want to put any chemicals down. I just want to get the seed down, get a bit of topsoil over the top, and just leave it for a couple of weeks to do its thing whilst it germinates, whilst the conditions are nice, because I think now is probably going to be the last time I'm really going to have a chance to get on and actually overseed this lawn. Some of you might be thinking, why overseed now? Why didn't I do it any earlier? And the reason I didn't do it any earlier is just through being back at work, and I've just been, with a normal day job, mega busy. Not really at the time to. Should have done it earlier, but you still can do it now. The conditions are still okay. People, think October and they just think, we're getting close to winter, which obviously we are. However, the conditions in October, like this year in particular, it's similar to spring, so we're talking sort of like early April, March time, and you would be overseeding then. That's still an okay time to do it. It does take a little bit of time for the seed to come through because it's not boiling hot. Not that it has to be boiling hot, but it's not like super warm, and you know, there's not a lot of sun on the grass at the moment, but the seeds will germinate, and I'd rather do this now and get them established ready for the winter rather than leaving it as patchy as it is now, you know, for the next like 4 months, and then giving those, you know, weeds a chance to like take over. I'd rather the grass take over now and crowd out any of the weeds rather than having the weeds doing that to the grass. Right, so I'm getting on the lawn with the A1 Lawn Premiership Pro grass seed. The last time I went on the website, which was around about a month and a half ago, I don't think they actually sold this one anymore. I think they've rebranded a lot of the grass seed mixes, so I'll have to see what I can get for next year. But this is the same bag I used to actually seed this lawn from scratch. So when the new grass matures, it'll blend in perfectly. If you are putting a bit of a different mix down, doing a full overseed is ideal, because then the two different grass mixes will just happily blend together, which will be lovely jubbly. I've got a good amount in the spreader. Just make sure if you're using a drop spread like this, you put it on the highest setting just to make sure the grass seed drops out. I'm going to do 2 passes across this lawn today, just to make sure there's a good amount of coverage, and I'm going to do more over this side where there is less grass that actually came through from the renovation. And now what I'm going to do just to finish off is I'm just going to top dress lightly with a bit of topsoil. You can use compost for this. Compost is ideal, but this is just what I had left in the garage from the last renovation. So I'm going to get on, just sprinkle over the top just to reduce bird take. But with the soil being quite moist at the moment, a lot of the actual seeds are pressed into the soil at the moment because it is quite moist. So I've not got too many issues with this germinating well next week or two. Right, I'm going to the rake for the next part, because that bit, there's not really a lot of grass at the moment, it's just a lot of mud, which isn't brilliant. But this bit, where all the grass is, should hopefully just be able to dump all this out and just rake it about. So once you've roughly raked it out, you can use the back of the rake just to smooth out any of the soil you've put down or any of the compost you've put down, but also as well, what it'll help to do is knock the actual existing grass blades to the top so that you're not smothering them, because you don't want to smother those ones. And then still to be poking through, and it just agitates the soil, knocks it down to the soil layer so it's not just sitting on top of the grass blades. So there we go, the lawn has been overseeded, and it's just be a waiting game now just to see when the actual seeds start to germinate and when the grass really starts to mature. Now it is going to take longer at this time of year just because the temperatures aren't super warm, but they are warm enough for it actually to germinate and for them to establish, and then hopefully this lawn's looking much thicker than what it is now over the next few months. What I will do is I'll post an update video in about a week or two, and I'll actually get this fertilised as well. So as those new grass plants start to come through, we'll give them the boost of growth with the fertiliser, start to boom and I really start to thicken up. So if you enjoyed today's video or found it useful, feel free to give it a like, and if you'd like to check out any of my other videos, such as my garden renovation series or any of my lawn tip videos, then head over to my channel, and if you like what you see, feel free to subscribe. And finally, thanks for watching.